He just works here!
Today I'm talking about my grudge against Sears. This'll be fun. So those of you watching probably know of Sears as the chain of American department stores that, you know, used to be even bigger than Walmart before the 90s, but now they're going super bankrupt because, well, the internet, Amazon, yeah, that's Sears. However, I have a personal theory that Sears is not, in fact, going out of business because of their inability to adapt to the times, and rather they're going out of business due to karma. Sweet, sweet karma that they have had coming for the last 110 years. But more on that later. First, context. Although we refer to it as Sears and we know of it as a department store, the official name of the company is Sears Roebuck and Company, and they did not, in fact, start with a brick and mortar storefront. No, sir. In fact, they began as a mail order company during the Victorian Era. Richard Warren Sears, the man who started it all, might actually be the quintessential story of someone who was in the right place at the right time. He managed to start and grow the business because of the fact that the railway system, accessible mail, time zones, and watch scams were all pretty new at the time. Let me explain. It all began in 1886 when Mr. Sears was working as a station agent on the railway. The railway was gaining traction, which of course aided in the rise of consumerism. And where there is consumerism, there are scams. You know when you're scrolling through your Instagram feed and you see an ad for a free watch, just pay shipping. Spoiler alert, it's a scam. They often charge an inflated shipping cost that's worth more than the cheap watch itself. Well, the Victorian Era had its own really fun pre-internet watch scam. Except back in the day, the scam went thusly. Wholesale watch manufacturers would send large shipments to jewelers who didn't order them. And if the jeweler slipped up and accidentally picked up that shipment, they were then financially responsible to either pay for the merchandise or pay to have it sent back. And that's when the manufacturer would swoop in and say, "Oh, terribly sorry for the mix-up. I mean, if you don't want our product, why don't you just pay the enormous shipping sum to send it right back to us? Or, here's an idea that I absolutely just now came up with on the spot. Why don't I offer you a discount? Yes, then you don't have to go through the shipping trouble. You can keep the watches and even resell them for a profit." So one day, young Sears received a shipment of watches just like this to the train station he was working at. The receiving party of the watches refused the shipment, probably because he knew he didn't order them and probably smelled the scam a mile away. Richard Sears, however, saw a business opportunity on his hands. You see, just a few years earlier, pretty much every city in the US had their own made-up time based roughly around their daylight schedule, which, as you can well imagine, made it extremely difficult for people traveling by train to learn the train schedules in every city. So in 1886, standardized time zones were introduced. You could say that times were changing. So Sears was like, yeah, I can totally side hustle watches to people coming through the train station. And side hustle he did. In fact, he side hustled so hard, he decided to make watch selling his main hustle and quit his job at the train station. Enter R.W. Sears Watch Company. But how do you get watches out to farmers in the rural Midwest without Amazon Prime? The answer? Mail order. A few years passed, the watch company got bigger, and eventually Sears brought on a watch repairman named Alva Curtis Roebuck. Roebuck eventually became a partner in the business, and Sears Roebuck & Co. was born. The very first Sears catalog was published in 1893, and although it wasn't the very first mail-order catalog in the US, actually that title goes to Tiffany Blue Book, mail order was a new and booming industry, so Sears only grew from there. Seeing the opportunity for growth with their newly published catalog, Sears began to expand its offerings. Not only did they continue selling watches, but they began to offer everything from hats, towels, musical instruments, baby carriages, pretty much anything you might need in your home. Or sometimes even the home itself. And of course, they offered made-to-order hairwork. And when I say catalogs, I'm not talking about those skinny little magazine-like things that you might get in the mail today. These things were freaking tomes. I mean, look at this thing. Look at that. This thing has 1,185 pages. In fact, this was so much free paper being sent to you that I've even heard anecdotally that poorer families would just tear out the pages to use as toilet paper. And I swear on a stack of Sears catalogs that at one point it was even nicknamed the Consumer's Bible. When I was a little girl, I remember always sitting or lying in awkwardly contorted positions on the floor of my grandmother's living room. And for some reason, she had started receiving catalogs from some witchy little company, and one of my favorite things was flipping through the pages and vigorously circling everything I wanted in Sharpie. I mean, I never got any of those things, but it was still really fun to be like, and I want the cauldron, and the spell book, and do I want the red cloak or the black one? Both of them. I can only imagine that it would have taken little Courtney weeks to circle everything on her wish list if the catalogs were this big. So now you may be thinking, but Courtney, it's actually kind of cool that they sold mail order hairwork. What could possibly be the problem? Oh, I'll tell you the problem. Let us first take a look at the 1897 edition of the Sears catalog. Given their history with watches, it's not surprising that the hairwork they offered came in the form of tablework watch chains. They advertised 2 different braiding patterns to choose from and 6 different options for gold-filled clasps. That's all well and good. However, let us jump just a few years to the 1908 edition of the Sears catalog, The Great Price Maker. In this devil of a thing, they advertise 1 made-to-order hair chain. However, this time they state, and I quote, "We do not do this braiding ourselves. We send it out. Therefore, we cannot guarantee same hair being used that is sent to us. You must assume all risk." What? I mean, would you order hair jewelry if it wasn't guaranteed that you would get the right hair back? What if it's sentimental hair? What if it's the hair of your deceased loved one that might just vanish into the ether once you sent it out and probably replaced with bulk purchased hair from some random person's head? I mean, seriously! What were you thinking, Sears? I mean, sure, around this time, braided hair jewelry was just fashionable. Sometimes it was ordered and worn without a sentimental component. But come on! I mean, if someone wants to send you their own personal hair and you give them instructions on how to send it to you, you better make darn sure they get the right hair back. Otherwise, the trust is broken and nobody is going to send their hair to you or any other hair worker, so that tears it. Sears has a lot of nerve. Sears killed mail order hair work, and Sears deserves to go out of business. Don't at me. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And a special thank you to my supporters on Patreon. If you have a question that you'd like to hear answered in an upcoming video, make sure to leave it down below. Until next time.
Don't worry, they're gonna be dead soon enough. No!